My watch has 7:00 p.m. This meeting is called to order. I will open with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Jones, would you be kind enough to do our invocation, or I'll do it? I can. And Mr. Jones will do our invocation. Folks, if you would bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to meet and see one another, but beyond that, we ask that you lead and guide and direct us with the town's business, that you would give this council wisdom, that you would be with every citizen out there and provide for their needs in the town of Stokesdale. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Review and adopt the agenda. We've got a couple of changes we need to make to the agenda, and these are my changes at this point. Item number 10 in the new business, we're going to strike it. We will not discuss it. And we're going to add under citizens' comments 13A, discussion of an administrative assistant position, which would be added to the staff for the town hall.
Mr. Mayor, why would we add that after citizens' comments?
Do that before.
I have no problem with moving it. Shall we make it 12A?
12A.
Please.
It will be 12A. I make a motion that we adopt the minutes from March 10th, 2020.
Wait a minute, Mr.
Excuse me,
Mayor.
we haven't adopted the agenda.
I'll make a motion, we adopt it.
If I may,
You may.
I would like to add an agenda item to have a brief discussion with council regarding the attempt to de-annex part of Summerfield. We can put that at the end of our agenda wherever the mayor wants, but I would prefer it towards the end myself.
Shall we put it after, shall we put it,
What about 12B?
Make it 12B, that'll work.
12B sounds good.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Rigsby? Excuse me, Mr. Rigsby's not here. Mr. Landreth?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. I make a motion that we adopt the minutes from March 10th, 2022, regular council meeting.
Second motion.
Any discussion?
Who seconded that?
I think
It don't
they
matter.
both did.
It don't matter, as long as it got seconded. Put somebody's name in there.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landreth?
Aye?
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. I would also make a motion that we adopt the minutes from June 9th, 2022, closed session.
You mean approve, sir.
Excuse me?
You want to approve those minutes, you said adopt.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I make a motion that we approve those minutes from June 9th,
Yeah, I'll
2022, closed session.
I'll second.
Okay. Yes, sir. In regards to the June 9th, 2022 minutes, I think I had a question. Ms. Martin, were you able to confirm who made the motion to remove the drink machine during that meeting?
Yes, I did. Listen to the tape, and it was Mr. Rigsby,
Okay,
and you did amend it.
okay. Thank you for that, Ms. Martin. I'm ready.
Any further discussion? Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landreth?
Aye?
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I'm also aye. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 9th, 2022, regular council meeting.
It was the,
No, we did closed session just a minute ago.
I'll second.
whoa.
The drink thing was not in the closed session, that was the open session.
That's where the drink machine would be at, is in these minutes, not no closed session. You asked a question about the drink machine, which has to do with these minutes.
Mr. Mayor, pause a second for me while I try to unconfuse myself.
Certainly.
I haven't seen the June 9th, 2022 closed session minutes.
They're in the
They were
envelope.
distributed.
We just approved it.
I just sat down, I don't, unless they're in this unopened envelope here, I don't know where they're at.
That's it. That's, it's your closed session.
Well, we already voted on those, is that what
Yes.
you're telling me?
Yes, we just approved that. Now we're down to the June 9th regular session council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We had a second, didn't we?
Yeah. Call question. Mr. Mayor, we ready to call question on this?
Any discussion?
I'm good.
Mr. Foy,
Am I?
Mr. Landrith,
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
I am also aye. October 13th, 2022, regular council meeting. I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Mr. Foy, Mr. Landrith,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
and I am also aye. February 9th, 2023, regular council meeting. I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I had asked for information to be included about the statement I made, discussion associated therewith, about a letter sent to Forsyth County by then Mayor John Flint. To keep us moving along here, what I think I would like to do is amend this motion to include having staff locate that letter and attach it to these minutes and show it to me. Otherwise, we'll come back and vote, have to open it up again, but I'm willing to vote on them with that caveat, if y'all would accept that change.
I don't understand.
Okay. On page 7, there's a paragraph that begins with Councilman Jones, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
That's not exactly what I said during that meeting. I referenced a letter that was signed by John Flint and sent to Forsyth County that was utilized by that particular developer to get approvals in Forsyth County for their development. There was no vote of council on that letter. So I want to attach it to this set of minutes as soon as we find it.
Are we talking about the Coldwater subdivision?
Yeah, there's only one, yeah.
The council did ratify, by vote to sell water, to Coldwater.
Yeah.
Is there any objection to attaching the letter to the minutes?
Mr. Mayor, I've not found a letter, so until I find a letter, I don't really know how to address that.
I'm certain it exists. I actually have it at home somewhere buried in my files. I know Mr. Foy had it at one time. I don't know whether other council members might have it in their possession or where it might be in this town hall.
What, was the letter part of a meeting packet?
I don't think so.
Because I'd have it if it was.
How do board members just sign letters on the town's letterhead and send them off to other governmental authorities for, to be used for approvals to extend the town's water system without votes of council? And so this has bearing on the other case because the town failed to get out in front of this with a plan review process and an inspection process, and that we're still struggling with this.
The town did approve to sell water. I know the letter you're speaking of. I know
Okay.
I know the situation.
But then if council is, if the two, I don't know which two of you made this motion at this point, but then my request would be to continue these, and I ask for a verbatim transcript of my comments during that meeting regarding this issue be inserted into the minutes.
I'll second that motion to continue.
Any further discussion? Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Did whoever seconded
So,
approved?
so we are,
Mr. Foy seconded it.
I just want to be clear what we're voting on. Are we attaching the letter? Are we doing the verbatim? Are we doing both? Or,
I think continuing.
No, I'm asking that these minutes be continued to allow the transcript of my comments regarding this issue to be inserted into the draft minutes for council to approve at a later date.
so we're not worried about the letter now? Or are we?
We're not approving the minutes, is basically what it is.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm just saying where we're going with the letter. I don't want to come back next month and, I mean, are we going to be trying to find the letter?
Well, I'm going to be trying to find a letter, but the council was not interested in attaching the letter, so.
No, I don't,
so-
I'm
so
going to
would
attach a
like-
letter. I don't know why you say that.
I would like to have my comments corrected in the minutes. And the easiest way to do that is just I figure it would take a paragraph quote from me to fix this.
I don't have a problem with putting it off, so I mean, that's fine. But I just want to make sure we're on the same page on what we're looking to do.
Yeah, initially, I just thought it would be simpler to approve these minutes with the caveat we would attach the letter and move on, but
I don't have a problem doing a letter. I just don't have a copy of it that I know of. If it wasn't part of a meeting packet,
I
I
understand.
don't even know where to find it.
Let's put the approval of the minutes off until the next meeting in hopes of finding this letter.
For February the 9th, 2023.
This is, exactly, this is February 9th's minutes.
Right.
We're going to put those off.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to whoever made it, if they would withdraw it and make a motion, so I can make a motion to continue these, I think that would be the course of action to follow here.
I believe you've made that motion, and I've seconded the motion to continue.
Okay, so we're good.
All right.
Mr. Rigsby? Aye. Mr. Foy? Aye. Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. I move that we approve the minutes for March 2nd, 2023 budget workshop meeting.
Second?
That was momentous, wasn't it? Any discussion? Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby? Aye. Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. Public safety reports. Our fire chief is with us this evening. He's in the house.
And that was the first vote by Mr. Rigsby since he's arrived, correct?
I believe so. No, second vote.
Okay, he slipped in
Yeah,
like a
he-
shadow down there on
yeah.
me.
Just glad I slipped in.
Good evening, council and citizens. The month of February report for the fire department. Actually, it's the slowest month we've had in quite a while. Only 53 calls, of which 31 were medical related, 17 fire related, and 5 fell into the other category. So that was a very unusual month for us, what we've been averaging. But that's okay. We don't mind that. Just a reminder this month about the use of 911. we still get a lot of calls into the fire station instead of using the 911 system. And we highly recommend that if it's an emergency, use the 911 system and not call into the fire station or any of the fire stations. And the reason being, we work on a tiered system. And for a medical call, for example, if you're having a heart attack or something like that, you call in, it automatically spawns over to EMS and gets an ambulance started at the same time. Where if you call the station, you've lost that time in there. We're en route, we have to let them know to start an ambulance. A fire, same way. You don't want to lose that time because in that time, we have responses set up, so we get additional equipment from other areas dispatched with us, so we don't have a delay. And that's the way the tiered system is set up to go. So we encourage everyone in emergency situations to use that. And like I said, we still get a lot of calls into the station. The danger with that is we could be on another call or we could be out training. There's nobody there to answer the phone. And then you've got a further delay hanging up and starting over again. So just something for everybody to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our sheriff's department is not represented here, but let me give a brief summary of this. For the month of February, the sheriff's office responded to a total of 225 calls for service in the town limits, resulting in 15 formal case reports. The highlights: overnight 2/7, deputies responded to a larceny in progress from a home under construction at 7700 block of Dovefield Drive. 41-year-old male was arrested at the scene and charged with felony larceny from construction site. He remains incarcerated. On 2/14, a residence in 7700 block of Honkers Hollow Court was burglarized during the evening hours. Numerous valuables were taken from the house, and the interior of the residence was heavily damaged. This case remains under investigation by detectives, and that's our sheriff's report. Administrative reports, Ms. Martin.
Yes. We had 7 meters installed this month, or last month. Applications, 15 applications for transfer of service. 35 meters are still on hold for builders. 18 work orders were issued. 48 811 service calls were processed, and 735 water bills were mailed out. We continue to work with developers and engineers on several subdivisions under construction here in town. We have Guilford County, we have executed that interlocal agreement that you all approved last month. The mayor and both Ms. Thacker signed that document this week. That's been done. Paperwork was submitted to NCDOT in regards to the speed limit signs or speed limit reduction on Athens Road, Angel Purdue, and Adano. And according to DOT, they're making those signs and they should be installed fairly soon. We are working on updating the planning board files. Last month you approved the cleaned up copy of the rules and procedures. So I've started working on that and updating the text amendments that have occurred over the last several years. Continuing to assist with the Park Improvement Committee and the various grants that we have. We will be submitting information to Rural Water for the required water supply report plan that's due April 22nd. And we'll also be working on the Consumer Confidence Report that's also required the 1st of June. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Planning Board, I don't think we have anything. Planning Board? Nope. Mr. Foy, is there anything on events committee?
No.
Property Committee, Mr. Landreth and Mr. Rigsby. We have a mirror that we have to replace in our public restroom down at the park. Mr. Landreth told me this evening it's going to require a little more work than we had originally hoped for, but I think between the three of us, we might be able to get this done. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah, maybe this term we'll get it done. We've also saved a little money, I believe, on a refrigerator.
Good point.
So we may be able to put that money back into the budget. So,
I think we should give kudos to Ms. Hunsucker. Are you with me? I think she's the one who unplugged it
yeah,
and plugged it back up,
yeah.
and it worked. And as Ms. Martin said, it's the first time since she's been here, it made ice. Okay, it's amazing how things work.
Yeah, we had a repairman come out,
Yeah,
and he suggested to not do anything to it because the repair was gonna be $400 on a fan.
but Ms. Hunsucker took it upon herself. to
That's
un-
right, she sure
Okay.
did.
All right. A big savings. All right. Town Park Improvement, Mr. Stevenson, I think you might have something for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. T. Stevenson with the chairperson of the Park Improvement Committee. Good evening. The Park Improvement Committee requested and received sealed bids from multiple vendors for the playground expansion project in the basketball and pickleball courts. Unfortunately, we did not receive any proposals for the amphitheater project at this time. The sealed bids for the playground project were opened by staff on February the 23rd. The meeting was open to the public and was available for viewing on YouTube and through Zoom. Each of the proposals for the playground project included multiple options on various costs, all of which came in under the indicated price point of $95,000. The sealed bids for the basketball and pickleball courts were opened by staff on March the 2nd, last week. The meeting was also open to the public and again was available through YouTube and Zoom. The bids received for the basketball, pickleball courts included proposals on an individual basis, which would be the basketball court by itself and the pickleball court by itself, and then also as a combined project. And actually, there were some savings if you did the combined project just because of economies of scale with that. The committee is in the process now of evaluating and vetting the vendors that submitted these proposals and the various options. And Mr. Foy will have further discussion on all of these projects under item 12 on the agenda. Is that good? Any questions? Comments?
Thank you, T.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, financial reports, Ms. Thacker?
Good evening. Okay, we'll start with the general fund. Our ARPA account, the American Rescue Plan Act, the account at the end of 2/28/2023 was $723,965. The Bank of Oak Ridge checking money market account, $23,422.57. The total of our CDRs were $2,570,142.61. Fidelity checking, $247,404.38. Our petty cash is $150. Salaries, our accounts receivables, salary and FICA due from Water Enterprise, which is Gary Machunas, our ORC, is $530.35. Sales tax to date is $490.30. The Water Enterprise reimbursement, which is the shared overhead expense, is $12,770.59. Also, if you'll notice on the balance sheet this month, that we are renewing this month. We've already approved 1, 2, 3, 4. We also have 2 more this month that's gonna be approved for the CDRs. And the rates are running roughly around 3.75. So that's really, really good. That's gonna be great for this budget year coming up as well. I think that's all for that one for now. I also had, bear with me 1 second. Well, I lost my notes on that. I'll get back, I'll find them. Okay, we'll go to the Water Enterprise account. The Bank of Oak Ridge, the CDRs are $503,555.46. Our capital reserve fund is $193,271.61. The Fidelity checking account is $676,885.20. The North Carolina Management Fund is $534,318.31. Our savings account is $45,058.52. Our accounts receivable on the water sales, which includes January billing, is $32,087.83. As you'll see, the active accounts, 90-plus days, is 0, and the inactive accounts, 90-plus days, total $6,114.63, and that's a total of 24 accounts. The sales tax to date is $270 that we will receive back. And again, at the bottom, the water reimbursement that's due to the general fund is $12,770.59. And the payroll on the payable is $530.35. And this one, we don't have very many CDRs on this one. And I am yeah, 24 accounts. Sorry, I was just verifying something to make sure I spoke it right, and I did. Is there any questions on anything?
Kim, I just got a comment that it did become official last week that the town was approved for a $400,000 grant through the Department of Water Infrastructure.
Yes.
And that money can be used for planning, asset inventory, things such as the tank mixing system, the control altitude valve, and planning for our water system as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We're going to open up for citizens' comments. Mr. Tyler McGee. Certified letter?
So my name's Tyler McGee. I've lived in this town my whole life, but just recently became a citizen when I purchased property at 8037 Highway 68. The previous owners, dating back several years, had the wastewater and the drain water from Highway 68 routed through my property. So to mitigate that, I contacted the state, and they said if I would buy the pipe, that they would put it in my driveway so that the drain water would continue down the road. I want to be clear, there was no modifications to my driveway. It was just a pipe. It was not lengthened, widened, anything. I received notification that I had a certified letter waiting for me at the post office. This council, this town, someone sent me the letter.
Tyler, I don't mean to interrupt you. Is this in relation to the water meter?
Yes.
Okay. You're welcome to speak, but I think we have it resolved, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, so my issue was I contacted some people asking, I even talked to Miss Hunsucker, and I think every citizen, if you run over your box, now if somebody coming down the road, that's one thing, but if you damage your box, you are responsible as a citizen in this town. So why I was sent the letter when nothing was done to my driveway, it was an opinion of someone in this council, someone in this town. I felt that it was kind of a single out. I could have been educated if I just received a normal letter, but the fact that it was certified, I had to go sign for it. That's kind of where I took exception. So I don't know if we send out letters to everyone. Like I said, I'm new to this town.
Let me help you. Certification just guarantees you receive it. That's what that's about. That's all that is. There's no threat in it. It just guarantees the sender that you receive it. That's all that was. Okay. Our concern, and we talked about this a bit, our concern was the meter that you have is not, help me out, Mr. Jones, it's not roadworthy or.
It's not traffic rated, no.
Not traffic rated. That was our concern, so that if anybody ran over it. What our concern was that we'd get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night, and all of a sudden you don't have water. That was our concern. We were just trying to let you know that, again, help me out, Mr. Jones. We're just trying to let you know that indeed it is your responsibility, and just to caution you about it. That's all that was. The certification was just a guarantee that we'd get that you got the letter.
Mr. Mayor, the town, every once in a while has had this occur in the past where there was a potential conflict between a meter vault and a driveway, and it's just generally what we have always done. It doesn't happen very often, but it's easy to overlook these things, especially now that we use the electronic readers, because nobody's going out there and taking the cover off of that meter vault. Grass grows over it, but it's still not strong enough to support the weight of a vehicle. And so I don't think it's we've deviated in any direction from how we normally handle those, but I don't really recall whether or not that was our specific motion and vote to send you a certified letter, but if it was to make sure you got it and didn't have a problem. At the end of the day, we don't want you to be out of water. Somebody could pull in your driveway just turning around, going in another direction, could result in you being out of water. So, that's up to you as to how much separation you want to maintain with the edge of your driveway and so forth. But our engineer and Yates Construction generally came down with the opinion that 3 foot was a reasonable separation between the edge of the driveway, whether it be asphalt, concrete, or gravel. And so I think I've seen this letter. I'm having trouble recalling exactly what it says, but if you have a question, just get in touch with me personally. I'd be glad to talk to you about it.
Now, we meant no offense. If you took offense, now we would apologize for the certification, but again, the certified part of it was just simply so you knew, or we knew, you got it.
And
that's all that was.
On the same day, just for background, there were 2 repairs that Yates had to do down there on the behalf of the town of Stokesdale. I think NCDOT cut your service line once, and maybe the phone company cut it again shortly thereafter.
Right, not the meter box, but the actual water line in the ditch. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there was some conflicts over, trying to get all that work done.
Okay.
If I'd have known it was you, I'd have gave you a call and heads up on it. I didn't even.
Well, it's not so much the offense side of it, but it's are you sending these letters to every person in the town, letting them know that, or was it just a case-by-case specific?
Yeah, that's.
It was just because of what had transpired. We don't have that happen. I mean, that's the first time it's come up since I've been here, so.
Yeah, it was not a general letter. It just, because of your situation, and Yates had already been out there to do some work or repair or whatever it was. We just wanted to make sure you're aware of what the situation was and that it wouldn't happen again. That's really what it was about.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that the record shows that the letter I received that was certified said that due to the fact I had widened my driveway, that they were making me aware that I was responsible for the damage. I did not widen my driveway, so I want to make sure that letter I signed, I was signing that I had received the letter,
Yep.
not signing
that's
that
all.
I had made those modifications to
That's
my-
all you did.
You didn't widen your driveway?
I did not.
Really?
Did not.
Okay.
So, thank you.
No, thank you. If you will step to the podium and state your name and address.
My name's Eddie McGee. I live 8035 Blues Creek Road. The state, when we contacted them about this pipe, why weren't they having to get somebody to locate that pipe before they cut it and cut the cable line in too?
I agree.
And then when AT&T or whoever does their digging come out, they dug it up.
I agree.
Not our fault.
Yeah,
You're correct.
absolutely right.
You're correct.
My brother planted bushes on each side of that driveway before we bought that. Those bushes are still there.
You're correct.
So the driveway hadn't been widened. At the road, yes, but the driveway is the same as it always was. I just want to make sure you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Hope y'all are. Priscilla Olenickel? Help me out. Olenek.
She'll set you straight, all right.
Oh, she will? Okay, have at me.
Welcome, Priscilla.
Good evening, council. My name is Priscilla Olenek. I live at 3100 Pleasant Ridge Road in Summerfield. I'm a lifelong resident in Summerfield. My boy over here is fifth generation. He comes with me sometimes. He enjoys this for some reason. So anyways, I just want to thank you, number one, for your support for Summerfield already. A letter came out by Mayor Sessoms this evening that stated that you guys were in support of us, and we certainly appreciate that. So I just kind of came here to thank you for that and ask you for any more support that you could give us. We would certainly be appreciative of that. I think you guys are all aware of the threat of the de-annexation by Mr. Couch, where he's going to remove, or potentially going to remove, 1,000 acres from the center of Summerfield, which would be very detrimental to our town. And I think it would be very impactful for other neighboring small towns in our area, particularly Stokesdale and Oak Ridge. So we came to ask you for support in any further opportunities that arise that you could support us. We would certainly greatly appreciate that. I personally think it's a gross overreach of legislative power to have them come into our small municipal towns who are self-governed and reach in and try to take that from us. So anyway, I just want to thank you and ask that you give any more consideration to us. And if it hits the fan, I may be coming to Stokesdale, and I'm fussy. Thank you, guys.
Priscilla, I did write a letter as one council member. I wasn't speaking for the town, but I did say that I was a town council member of Stokesdale and expressed my concerns of significant government overreach and usurping local government with this. This is, the fact that it's nearly 1,000 acres is almost unprecedented. And
It is.
5% of the town of Summerfield landmass area. Thank you for coming to speak.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Jimmy had a question.
Jim?
Do you know if, have they attached this to some legislation, or are they just doing this? Where are they at down there? I hear this, and I've seen Burgers write up and all that, but, I mean, you know how politics is, a lot of talk goes on.
It is a lot of talk, and I think the original thought for the emergency meeting on Saturday was to try to get ahead of it. And I think that the town wanted to get as much support and as quickly as possible to have citizens right and maybe nip it in the bud before it even got to the floor. I think it's council's understanding that if it reaches the floor, it's potentially too late. And there were some other situations in de-annexations around the state where they kind of got caught off guard and didn't know it was coming. So I think as a community, our government has asked us to write, to call. It is our feeling that it is certainly in the works. Mr. Couch has confirmed that he does have some lobbyists. I think some of our council members talked to some people within the state legislature, and they told him that, yes, they had already been approached, particularly Phil Berger, that he had already been approached by Mr. Couch and was considering this. So we're an active community. So I think, we're just trying to get ahead of it so we don't get caught off guard. But we expect it to come down the
Yeah,
pipe.
I think you're probably doing the right thing. I think that that's the craziest thing I ever heard. If they do that, they're gonna open up a can of worms, because I may pull out of Stokesdale.
That's exactly right.
I don't have a lot of money, so I wanna be taken care of like he's taken care of. And maybe some other folks that wanna pull out. I'm just joking. I don't wanna pull out of Stokesdale. But all I'm
That's
saying,
the reality of it, is he is gonna they're gonna set a precedent with this.
I really can't see them doing it, but I'm not saying to stop doing anything, because you're doing the right thing, but I just can't. If they do that, they're gonna open up the biggest can of worms that's ever been opened up in the state of North Carolina.
We have we have added an agenda item for this, if you didn't catch that, if you want to hang around.
I did catch that, and I thank you. But money talks in Raleigh.
Yeah, it does everywhere, it seems like, except here. We don't tax anybody, so we don't have any to throw around.
Well, they don't
Except
want to
a little
leave
bit.
because their taxes aren't gonna be any less.
Yeah, well, that's crazy.
It is
Right.
crazy. But we appreciate your support, and United Northwest Guilford County has certainly a lot more pull. So we appreciate everything y'all are willing to do for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't speak for all the council, but I can assure you, I believe the majority of us are in support.
Thank you, sir. I like this, the back and forth. We don't get to do this in Summerfield. You just get to make a statement. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
This is rural character.
That's right. Listen, I grew up here, so I'm a lifelong. Had
Yeah.
many fun times in Stokesdale and Booths Creek.
Oh, yeah.
And in your gym playing
We're
basketball.
not gonna ask you about any of them, though, so.
Derek might know a couple.
Well, we're definitely not gonna ask them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Somebody get a picture of that.
Mr. Mark Nadell. Stokesdale Development Ordinance.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My junk over here. Oh, that's fine. Let me put on my eyes so I can see what I'm reading here. My name is Mark Nadell. I reside at 8211 Wendy Gale Drive in Stokesdale. Recently, I sent a request to all the members of the town council requesting you to review the town's development ordinance by adding it to tonight's council agenda. This topic was addressed by the previous council, who agreed to wait until the new council, yourselves, were in place to review our outdated development ordinance. This administration has been in place for over a year, and this issue has never been addressed. Whether you're aware or not, the Stokesdale Town Ordinance Council adopted the Town of Stokesdale Development Ordinance on June 18th, 1998, with an effective date of July 1st, 1988. The adoption of the development ordinance included the adoption of related and appropriate zoning maps, thoroughfare plans, and designated water supply watersheds maps. As a part of the ordinance, the purpose of the town's Stokesdale Development Ordinance is to provide the health, safety, morals, general welfare of the residents of the town of Stokesdale through the regulations within this ordinance. Not to my surprise, only Councilman Landreth had the courtesy of responding to my request. Councilman Landreth indicated he was not in a position at this time to add this to the agenda, and I respect that. The other members of the council completely ignored my request. Why would something that has such a huge impact on our town's future be ignored by the majority of this council? We're all aware of the rapid development that has happened since the development ordinance was put in place almost a quarter century ago. Almost 25 years. We're coming up on the anniversary now. A lot has changed in that time. Mr. Landreth, Mr. Jones, I'm sure many of the people here have seen a great deal of change. I feel it's incredible that this issue has been sidelined. Apparently, it is more important to discuss spending money and time on building pickleball courts in our town, as well as spending numerous council meetings deciding on what to do with a soda machine in our park. Are you as a council really looking out for our future development and not allowing our town to be stripped of its natural resources, as we have seen from the rampant overdevelopment that has occurred in the past decade from profit-seeking developers? If you've observed the recent article in the Northwest Observer, the town of Summerfield took on a large land developer and denied his request for a huge development that would change the complexion of Summerfield. Why is Stokesdale Town Council not taking their lead by making sure our ordinances are up to date so we do not continue to lose our identity? We in Stokesdale have a great history, and allowing builders to run away uncontrolled using our outdated ordinances will destroy this great place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a point of privilege here?
Please.
I don't recall there ever being a discussion about updating the UDO. I do recall updating the future land use plan, but those are two different documents.
I will say that that was actually in Ms. Dale's office this morning, and we were talking about that. She's, aren't you starting to work? We're going to shift some people around in our ordinance book. We've got to reconcile some things on that. So it's not that it's not even being thought about.
Yes, my work will be to, everything that council has already approved in the last couple of years, get the book that we have up to date.
Plus checking out some of the mistakes that may be in it
Yes,
and things like that. So it's a process.
but not review what's there, and recommend any changes. That's
Yeah,
planning
And it-
board and you guys.
yeah. And it does, we have, lots of things. I don't know, rampant development. Me and you've talked about this several times, and I've told you what I felt about it. I'm a property rights person. Of course, I don't want a whole lot of things I don't want to see, but, we've got regulations, we pretty much go by. I had to vote against one last month. So, we've got regulations that we're using, and, I don't know if anything's outdated other than the map. And the reason the map is just, the map is a living thing anyway. A lot of folks don't realize that. You'll pull 10 people out of the community, and they'll start, they'll say, well, we're gonna do this here, industrial and that, and all that, but I did this, 20 years ago? How long ago was it? And you make a map. Is it wrote in stone? It's never wrote in stone. It really depends on 3 council people or 5. You want 5 on stuff, but you could put here that we're never gonna do anything else in Stokesdale, never gonna build another house, never gonna build another anything on that map. You could write that on that map, and then you could come in here and have a zoning hearing and put a Walmart right in the middle of town. So, is that not correct? About the zoning.
You can change the map anytime.
The zoning map, yeah. So it's a more suggestion thing. You'll hear me sometimes in a zoning hearing, bring that up to the planner, to have the planner, say that where, if we did that, even with that, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop anything. Everything has to be looked at. So, it is important. You're correct. I will definitely agree that we need to, we've got to get it up to date. I hope we'll get it up to date for the next one, but we're gonna be working on it, so I understand your concerns.
May I also ask a question of Mr. Nadell? I'd like a little bit more clarification on, natural resources that we're stripping away and, I guess what builders have we allowed to come into town and overrun the council? Because I'm not familiar with any builder that we've given any preferential treatment to that hasn't followed the guidelines verbatim. And with us having a water system, I think we're one of the only towns in the northwest area that actually would not be, builders would not be causing a negative effect on the water table because we're bringing water from outside. So I'd like a little clarification on that.
Well, many of you are aware of who Mr. Greco is. I don't remember his first name, who's been in front of the planning board when I was on the planning board, has been in front of town council promoting his projects. One of the things he's a master, he's very good at what he does. There's no question about it. I give him a lot of credit for that. But what he does is, you'll notice whenever he makes a comment, he'll say, according to your development plan, according to this. Now, I'm not looking to make mass changes here, okay? What I'm looking for is, I've lived here almost 7 years, and I've seen a huge change. I can't imagine 25 years ago, when this plan was put in place, what this town looked like, okay? I'm sure it was very rural, okay, with nowhere near the development that we had today. The problem is, and like Mr. Lanza said, I'm all about protecting people's rights. There's no question about it. But I want to make sure that the ordinances are in place so we don't end up with what's going on in Summerfield. Because what's going on in Rockingham County with the development, and what's going on in PTI, and all these companies coming in, okay? I grew up in a rural farming community with 500 people. And when I left, there was 73,000 people living there on 60 by 100 pieces of property. And the original planning was 5 acres. So what happened was, money talks. Developers move in. They start to take over. I moved here because I like the rural nature, the laid-back nature of this community. Sometimes people look at me and say, well, you're from up there and you must want everything like it was like that. No, okay? I'm concerned about that. All I'm really looking for is for the council to sit down, put together a committee, start to review it, look at it, discuss it. It's not gonna happen overnight. You're not gonna be able to come up with a new plan in the next 2 months. I know that. This could take years to put it together. Set up a plan, come up with some kind of program, and let's go step by step by step, so we don't get blindsided. Because when Boom Sonics comes in, and now I heard in Lexington, another, Siemens just agreed to build, okay? I mean, they're bringing in tens of thousands of jobs. People are gonna need places to live. Jimmy always says, I don't want a Walmart here. Walmart doesn't just build a store because they got a piece of property. Businesses build a store because there's revenue stream, okay? So if Walmart sees a community that has potential growth factor, they don't care about what it's gonna do today. 5 years down the road, it's gonna be a big deal. And that's what we have to be careful about, because if we're not careful, we're gonna get overrun, and people like Mr. Couch, who's doing what he's doing in Summerfield, okay? I don't know anything about that man, I just seen what I've seen in the paper. I can tell you, politics drives everything. And when you get a guy like that, that man is not gonna stop, okay? He's not gonna stop. And I don't know where that's gonna end up. And I don't wanna see us in that situation. And when I say stripping the land, I mean, I've seen farms and woodland areas leveled, and big housing communities are coming up. Yes, we need houses, people are moving here, I get all that, okay? But we need to do it intelligently, because I don't wanna be in a situation where Jimmy's grandkids, okay, when they finally get up and get married, say, wow, you know, we used to go playing in the streams, and now my neighbor is like, I open up the window and I say, how you doing? Because that's what's gonna happen. And we need to put the brakes on it, and we need to look at it intelligently. And all I want is for you guys to set up some kind of committee. I'm glad someone's talking about it. I've had a lot of conversation with a lot of people. I put a lot of pressure out there. And to make it official, no, I'm not running for town council. I know I've heard that comment. I have no intention of running for public office, okay? I'm looking to do what's right for this community, and I'm willing to work with people and help people because I love living here. It's a great place, okay? When I bought my house, I put the acreage all around me, okay? I've got 4 acres in the middle of a development where everybody else has 3/4 of an acre. And I get called every day from builders, and I could make a fortune on the land. Like, Jimmy, you know what land's worth today? They're calling me up left and right, and you know what I tell them? You want to buy it? It's $5 million, you can have it. Because if they want to pay $5 million, they can have the property. I'll go buy 100 acres someplace and go live somewhere else. That's it. I want to make sure that we protect what we have. And sometimes I know I come across a little bit obnoxious, but you know what? Maybe that's the New York in me. But I'm really concerned about the development because I've seen in the last 5.5 or 7 years, I can't believe what's happened here, okay? And it's just steamrolling. And we can't stop it, but we need to make sure we can control it. And that's all I'm asking you guys to do, is to come up with some kind of plan that we can, you know, sit down and figure out what's the best thing for this community.
We have that now.
We have
I
RS
mean,
40,
we're
RS 30.
controlling, we control it now. It's, I mean, I think, and, you know, many of you have conversations about this. I believe, you know, if we ever put a sewer line in Stokesdale, and I know a lot of folks want to, Katie bar the door, we're gonna be
It's a
like
good point.
Carnesville. So, you know, I know some of the people that want it, and it would help, hey, I could make money off a sewer line, but I don't want it, because I wanna live here. I don't want, you know, shops just, you know, bam, 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 but I'd like to see business, people wanna have a business. You know, 4 or 5 acres, stuff like that, and where they've got them, their own sewer system. I mean, if you wanna keep the character rural, then you make it easier on those, I mean, don't make it hard on them. I mean, government has a tendency to make it hard on small business, small guys. The big guys always get their way. I mean, it's just about, you know, they go to court or whatever. But we do, I mean, look at the developments that's been done. You see the houses, but you go down here, I know a lot of folks didn't like that one. You know, there's one development already there, but it was 100 acres there. A big factory could have came in with all kinds of loud truck noise and stuff. So you're gonna have houses that are close, but there's so much open space. So, I mean, farmers are not farming anymore. So, I mean, what are we supposed to do? We're gonna just restrict them and say you can't do anything with your property? I mean, it's restricted pretty good now. I mean, I think it's restricted sometimes, worse than it should be, especially for individuals trying to do something. I mean, an individual just pull their hair out when they want to do something. The big
fine-
outfits come in,
It's a
and
fine
they can do
line,
what they want to.
fine line you have
You
to
know,
walk, and I realize that.
You know, as long as they're been the thing. So, I mean, I don't know. I've said it right here. I don't know how many times. I wish they would never build another house in Stokesdale. I wish they'd have stopped 30 years ago. But I don't own all the property. So, you know, I just don't know. I see where you're saying we need to update this, and it's something that we are working on. But as far as whether we're doing a pickleball court, I mean, we're not stopping everything to do that, because we do have something in place. It is in place, and we are doing it. We're not putting houses on a 20th of an acre and having them packed in like they did up in
What
Levittown.
concerns me is I've heard conversation from business owners who know builders, and perception's everything, unfortunately. And I hear business owners saying, this town rolls over to all the builders. Now, I know that's not the, well, I didn't say that. I said, I know that's not the case. But the problem is, you start to get that perception out there, okay? I can tell you that I have the absolute utmost respect for those people in Summerfield, because they did what I would do, okay? I'd go down, cutting off my last arm to save it. I'm not sure, and again, you've got legal issues you're dealing with, and I get all that, but the ability to stand up and make your voice heard, okay, is one of my biggest gripes in general with people, you know, and you can't get people to do that until it's too late. And then when it's too late, you know, I hear people that have lived here a long time say to me, because I eat in Parkers all the time, I talk to all the people coming in there, and they say to me, oh man, I just wish this never happened. And I'll say, have you been to a meeting? Have you ever talked to, well, why should I do that? He says, because those guys are on the payroll anyway with the builders. Now, I know that, we know that's not the case, okay? But they just think that that's what's happening. They don't understand the way things work. So I think that it's important that, and I try, you know, I don't send a lot of communications or emails out to the council. I maybe once or twice a month, maybe, I don't know, maybe sometimes I do or I don't. And Jimmy, I commend you, okay? You always respond back to me, whether it's a phone call or something, you know, and sometimes it's like immediate, you know, and I appreciate that. It's rare I get a call, and in some cases, never get calls from some people, okay? And as elected individuals, if I was calling you every day, you know, you say, you know, give me a break. But when I sent this email out, I expected something, like in your case, you know, you called me up, we was on the phone 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it was, and we spoke about it. And, okay, I don't have to agree with you, but I respect the fact that you communicated it with me. And that's great, you know, because now I understand where you stand, and it's not gonna make you a good or a bad person, it is what it is, okay? But I don't know where anyone else stands on this, okay? Because
You should have known how I stand a long time ago, because I've told you.
Well, yeah, right, well, you and I speak a lot.
I've told you.
Mark,
And
we-
we're gonna have
we've
to
got your
stop,
point.
But I do want
Yeah,
to say one
let
more
me make
thing.
one-
I want to say one
We've
more
got
thing.
your point, Jim.
Let me make one point.
Hold on a second, Jim.
All right, go ahead.
Before I forget. The folks in Summerfield are not trying to stop a man from developing his property. They just want him to do it within the bounds of what Summerfield has, which would be the same thing as we've got. They're not trying to stop him. They're trying to stop some things that's not allowed. And we don't allow those things here. So, I mean, it's the same thing here, but we went to,
I'm just gonna make one point, Mark, and this is just a general point. The form that you, when you mass email all 5 council members a generalized request, that's not the proper form for making a request. The proper form is coming up here in a public meeting, so everybody has an opportunity to respond to that. So sending an email, that's why some of us I can't speak for them, that's why I don't respond to those, is because it's not a proper request. It's not a proper form because it's not a quorum, it's not in front of the entire council, and that is why if I start responding and they start responding, then all of a sudden we've got a council meeting going over the email, and it's just not the proper way to do that. I have no problem discussing the ordinances and all that, but I just want to give you that, and it's not just you, it would be anybody that's in what if somebody sent all 5 of us, hey, I'd like to have a Chick-fil-A, can y'all call Chick-fil-A and get one built? You know, that's just not a proper way to do that, and and if you start responding and then they hold, it's a public record, and it just goes down a slippery slope that I don't think we as a council should go down in responding to mass emails and then blind copying all five people back on it. And now all of a sudden you got a public record and a town meeting. So that's my stance on that.
Mark, Jimmy Landreth and I had this conversation prior to our waterworks, not waterworks, our budget meeting the other night. Just, I think we both realized that if we don't control this, it could very easily get out of hand. So it's on our radar. Our pickleball court and our basketball court, those are federal funds. You know, that's not money out of your pocket. Excuse me. It is money out of your pocket, but it went through the federal government first, okay? Government does not make money. They just confiscate it. But those are things we're trying to take care of first because there's some immediacy with that. We have some time limits on it. But if it helps, it's something that's been in my mind. And it's gonna take some professional help to really come up with something. I think we can probably look at what we've got, but it's gonna take some professional help to project what this thing's gonna be 10 or 20 years from now. You know, nobody's gonna know who the mayor was in 2023. But in 2033, I'd like to think that the town's gonna be much better off, headed in the right direction and all of that. So your point is taken. Enough said. Consideration of the request to move funds within the general administrative expense and payroll expense categories. I'm not sure what that's about. Okay.
Okay, I sent out, and you should have in your packet,
Yep, I got it.
okay. This is not a budget amendment, because a budget amendment is not needed to request the moving money within the categories. So within the category of 4,000 for the general administrative expense, item number 41,000, lawn outdoor maintenance, I'm requesting to decrease that by $3,500. And item number 40,800 for postage, I'm asking to increase that by $1,500. Item number 70,400, IT security and website design, I'm asking to increase that by $2,000. Do you guys want to do this by category? Do you want me to do the whole thing and then? Okay, I'll keep
By
going.
category.
What's your question again?
If you wanted to do each category first, or do you want me to tell you what I'm requesting with the whole page first? And then,
Are we gonna have to vote on it individually?
no, just the category.
Well, Ms. Thacker, before you get rolling here, I do have a question, make sure I understand the format here. For example, lawn and outdoor maintenance is gonna be decreased by $3,500, and the new balance will be $17,100. Am I reading this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you, just making sure.
Yes. Okay, I'll move on to payroll expense, 80,000. Item, category 80,000. Item number 80,500 for health insurance, I'm asking to decrease that by $1,000. Item number 80,200, mileage reimbursement, I'm asking to increase that by $500. And item number 80,300, payroll processing fees, I'm asking to increase that by $500. Again, this does not require a budget amendment, but I do have to have council's approval and vote to move money within the categories.
Kim,
Yep.
the 17,100 for lawn outdoor maintenance, that's not gonna cover it.
That, sorry, bear with me a minute. I've got it pulled up right here. That's what we have left in that. I apologize. That would be the remaining of the balance throughout the rest of the final year. Sorry. Tell you exactly what the number is on that one. Yes, through the end of it, that's what we would have left in the budget. 17,100 would be the remaining amount. Sorry. We've got 47,000. So that would bring the total down. The budget itself would be 43,500. My apologies on that. That would be the remaining, what's left for the rest of for the fiscal year. Sorry.
43,500.
Yes, that would be the balance if you guys allow me to reduce that by the 3,500.
And that's enough to cover our expenses that we've got coming?
We have, March, April, May, June, 2, 4, 6, 8, $8,000 in lawn care. Yeah, and if anything else arises, even with Hunter or whomever, yeah.
Would have a balance. I think we have 36,000 obligated total for the year, so.
All right.
Yes.
I make a motion, we adopt these changes.
Yeah, so,
Well, we need, with the revision of the balance being 43,500.
I can fix that too and send it out to count and send it out or whatever needs to be done on that.
That's fine. It just needs to be, when we include this in the,
I can fix it right now, actually.
thank you for putting this together, Ms. Thacker.
You're welcome. I apologize for that mistake.
Let's not let it happen again, please.
I have made a motion to adopt these changes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if you would cite this document, I would appreciate it, and if you would, then I'll second it.
Cite the document. I have requests to move within the categories Thursday, March 9th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we're good. Any further discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I'm also aye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Opening and consideration of proposals for auditing services. This is also you,
Sorry.
Kim.
Yes, that's me again. No, I do not. Okay. Let me find my. Last meeting, you guys voted and approved for me to send out the RFPs for the audit for this fiscal year coming up. And in the RFP, I had requested that I receive responses back by March the 3rd, which was last Friday. I received only 2 responses back, in which one was from, where's that at? Right here. One was from Gibson and Company, and the email they sent said, Ms. Thacker, thank you for including Gibson and Company in your request for proposals for the town of Stokesdale. However, we are unable to submit a proposal at this time. Please include us in future proposals if you so desire. Thanks, R. Harold Gibson. And then I did receive a proposal from W. Green, PLLC, and it's Mr. Wade Green. He does the audits for Summerfield and Madison. And his background, his firm has been established since 2013, and he has 2 offices. One's located in Whiteville, North Carolina, and Carolina Beach. So therefore, he's had his firm open for 10 years. His firm's been in business for 10 years. And his proposal, which you guys should have a copy of that in your packet. You don't have it?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, there it is. W. Green. It's separate.
It was laying in front of me when I arrived at this.
It's separate.
Think I've got it. Well, wait a minute. Okay, maybe I've got it over here. Is it this part too?
What did this year's audit cost us? What did this year's audit cost us?
$14,555.
I got it, yeah. It's with the park stuff. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So he has proposed, I will say, I do like his background. I like what he has stated, and I like the fact that He does the audits for Summerfield and Madison, so those are neighboring communities that we know. He has proposed for fiscal year '23, fiscal year '24, and fiscal year '25. However, you guys know that in the RFP, I did state that, you know, these were subject to be approved each year. It would not be a 3-year contract. This would only be a 1-year. But he has stated that his audit fee for those 3 consecutive years, for 3 years, would be $14,000 each. He does say that additional services will be billed at the standard hourly rate of $250 per hour. Partner in charge is $175 an hour. Managers is not, $175 an hour for managers, $95 an hour for staff accountants. He says that they generally do not bill for questions, comments, telephone calls, et cetera, during the year unless they are complex and time-consuming. Our clients routinely ask about budgets, internal controls, grants, and payroll without incurring any additional charges.
Kim, is there a price concession if he's 3 months late on the audit?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion that you, resubmit the RFP with the due date of April the 7th and, present the alternate options at the April 13th town council meeting.
Would you like for me to resubmit to all the same that the,
You can include those, but please contact some other local municipalities and,
Okay.
and find recommendations.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Foy. Maybe a better way to do this would be sure that we got it up on our town website, and should we be emailing everybody on the list in this area that's on the list with the state treasurer, with the LGC?
Anything,
They all have to be.
anything to get more proposals?
They all have to be certified by the LLC, no, Local Government Commission to do this work, correct?
They do, but there's no penalty to them for being, for example, 3 months late on the audit.
correct?
Yeah, I follow you with that. The one gentleman I spoke to in connection to this just said that they were low on manpower or women power, if you will. They had a position that had been open and they just couldn't take on as much work as they might otherwise wish to.
Is that Mr. Gibson?
It was, yeah, a fellow at Gibson it was.
Okay.
I would at least like for us to be looking at 2
Agreed.
rather than just 1.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, just for my own purposes, I mean, where are you getting the 90-day, their late 90 days? Is that something you see in the agreement, or is that just something you're asking in general?
Just in general.
Okay,
I have made phone calls to municipalities, call it a reference check.
okay.
Is this firm notoriously late?
Mr. Foy, are you implying that we should have something in our paperwork asking for the proposal that would provide for a late fee that the town of Stokesdale would receive if the work's not done? The problem I see with that is they might turn around and blame us for, you know, some inconsistency in our records or something that had to be reviewed twice or something of that nature, and I don't think we would really win.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't necessarily implying that. I just, you know, I've never spoke with Mr. Green. I'm sure he does a fantastic job. You know, like I say, I called around and did reference checks.
Well, I'm all for trying to get at least 1 more of these, so we
Yeah.
got 2 to pick from.
Yeah, I just, you know, it's a public meeting. He's got his own private business. I've never done business with him, so I just,
Well, let's get some more
yeah, well, that's.
bids.
Okay, the motion is to resubmit the, what was the term? The
RFP.
RFP with a due date of April 7th.
Due date of April 7th.
And I would like for council to have these in hand at a minimum of 2 days before our meeting so we can review these.
When is the meeting?
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith? Aye. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. We've dropped number 10 from the agenda. So number 11 is discussion on 5% rate increase projected by GFL for solid waste and recycling services.
Ooh, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I added this. Ms. Martin received a letter dated February 27th, 2023, stating this is from GFL, who's the current provider for waste services, both recycling and waste in the town of Stokesdale. They have been servicing the town of Stokesdale since July the 1st of 2022. If you recall, we had his Republic, probably for well over a decade before that. The letter from GFL states, per our agreement, your rates will increase on July 1st, 2023, according to the index detailed in the Bureau of Labor Statistics category of garbage and trash for the month of January, not to exceed 5%. I have attached the table that shows 7%. Therefore, your rate will increase 5% from $22.80 a month to $23.94 a month. So it would be standard language of any municipality for the service provider, in this case GFL, to tie a rate increase along with the consumer price index, specifically the garbage and trash section of the consumer price index. Hats off to Jimmy during contract negotiations last year. He requested that they cap that at 5%.
I requested 3.
At 5% so that it could not go up more than 5% annually. So they're actually not able to pass on to the town of Stokesdale the full 7% that the consumer price index shows. This is going to happen. It'll be effective to citizens July 1st, 2023. I do want to ask the staff, have you guys, since we moved to GFL, have you gotten any service complaints from any citizens?
The only comment we had was about the bulk pickup, which was not a free service from Republic either, but
Right.
they don't offer that. That's the only comment I had.
Right. So the new price will be $71.80 a quarter, whereas now Stokesdale citizens, we're billed quarterly and we pay $68.40. So just as a point of reference, when we bidded this out 13 months ago, Republic also bidded on this business, and their bid initially came in at $82.50 a quarter. So, at $71.82, we're still, significantly lower than what their competition would have been. And I infer that by the lack of negative feedback, that citizens are hopefully as pleased as they can be with trash service. I know that I personally am. So I just wanted to get this out there on the public record. That
It was also discussed at the time that they would provide us with a dumpster, I believe, at least once a year, maybe twice a year.
Twice a year.
Has there been any discussion on when?
No, sir.
Okay. It might be something we could coordinate with something else, like the shredding or animal adoption. I mean, we've had some conversations about that. So something that brings people onto the town hall property. Just, Dale, if you would let us know if they've got a date in mind. Okay?
We can contact them.
Okay.
So there's no vote needed, that's just automatic
it
because of the contract.
contract language, but we need to inform the citizens.
Yeah.
Town hall park improvement projects. T, you got anything going there?
Well, wow, this is my agenda item.
Oh, okay.
I'm afraid I can't say it any better than T did, but just to kind of reiterate what T was saying, we did receive, I believe it was 7 good proposals for the playground equipment. The committee The committee's honed that down to 2, and we're doing some, further questions, investigating, and all that. Also, the playground, the basketball court and pickleball court, proposals have come in. Very impressive proposals from the vendors. I would like to have, the committee have by April 1st, a packet to all council members, with a recommendation from the committee, showing the bid proposals, and other due diligence that, committee members are doing at this time. Again, very impressed. It's unfortunate that, nobody bidded for the amphitheater. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all, I personally, as just one guy, I was pretty excited about the amphitheater, but I'm losing steam on it. The vendors that do this, they just said they are well booked. This is becoming cost prohibitive. The covered structure that, we were looking at from Polygon Structures, went up from $57,000 quote last fall to, when I had them requote it, to $73,000. And, that doesn't really match the indexes for raw materials. So, he just said that the plant passed that on. And I'm not aware in any situation in manufacturing where the manufacturing plant determines the price. That usually comes from the business side. So, this is gonna be more of an, I think it's gonna, me as one council member, I'm losing my appetite, losing steam for the amphitheater. And also, will be honest, a lot of my friends, they didn't share my excitement. I know it came back as, fairly favorable on the, on the park survey, but they don't share my excitement in it, especially at the price tag. And they don't, and that's cool, but I'm gonna listen to them. And, we've got other things that we probably need to do. The park back here on the other side of the soccer fields, the erosion's getting really bad. We need to address that. This pickleball court, I have gotten a lot of good feedback on pickleball court. That sport is the fastest growing sport in the country. Not something I've ever played, probably never will, but, that's it. So, losing steam on the amphitheater, cost prohibitive, and, just the one-on-one feedback I'm getting from a lot of people, they're not feeling it. Just lukewarm on it. They don't hate it, they don't love it. What are you gonna use it for? How often are you gonna use it? All good questions.
I agree with Mr. Foy. It's a big expense that to outlay, that if we're not all in and have a solid, backing, that it's just a big expense.
That's huge.
And if we don't, but the key comes down to we don't have a vendor. And, this is not something that we can just throw together overnight and throw some money at. I would be more interested in, if we don't have a vendor, maybe circling back and looking at if we could use some of that money for some other smaller projects within the park, such as erosion control, maybe some upgrades to the soccer fields, maybe a fence around the soccer fields to keep, we've had some damage to them in the past. Maybe we can use some of that money to fence those fields off. Just some general thoughts out there that we do have a lot of money to spend, and we do always have projects inside the park that we could identify if we're not gonna do an amphitheater. But I don't wanna tax our budget to push an amphitheater if we're gonna have to overpay for a vendor or contractor.
Yeah.
And then we're not all in as a community.
This government pool of money, we're not the only municipality to get it. So, a lot of these contractors, I'm sure, are getting government contracts right now, which are historically bloated. But, they're booked full, and, but that's all right. We'll punt. We'll find something better. Like I say, the feedback I got, it's a small sample size. I get that, but it's been lukewarm. So that's the update. Jimmy, what do you think?
Well, I thought it was too much money to start with. And when we started talking about $150,000, I thought, wow, you know, and then it went up and it looked nicer and nicer, and I started getting excited and thinking, well, you know, kids can have plays up there and stuff and good, but, you know, 400 and some, half of what this place cost for an amphitheater stuff, you know, and, you know, I'm ready to not just punt, but just take my ball and go home on that one. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we got other things we can do. I mean,
Well-
everybody needs to realize this is money that we do have to spend. And that's why we were looking at, I'd have never looked at the amphitheater if it had been coming out of the general budget, general fund, shit, I wouldn't even come to a meeting
Yeah.
about it.
Well,
But it wasn't. It's
do
money
agree with that.
We do have to do something with, and we've had meetings and.
With the
meetings and
genesis of
meetings.
the amphitheater, you know, let's be clear, was from a citizen survey, where it did come back favorable, but
Yeah.
it didn't come back a strong favorable. It just came back favorable.
I mean, we were trying.
And
to-
then when you talk to people, like, there has been some, it's not all been bad feedback, but, I mean, you heard some of the guys the other night, Jimmy.
Well, I heard them. I've heard the people I've talked to too, and I hadn't had any good feedback about it. Man, what are you thinking about? Are you crazy?
Yeah, well,
It's a country. Where's it?
yeah.
But it could have been and it, you know, and something else may come up, you know,
Well,
put some telephone poles around.
3,
down there,
4 years
put a roof
ago, I'm
on it.
sure the price would have been a lot
Get
more
some
reasonable.
in there.
Anyway,
So. hey,
onward.
Go to something else, unless Tim wants to, and I know Tim was all excited about it and everything, and, you know. but we
Tim,
can-
have I hurt your feelings?
We can move on to something else.
Thank you. It's amazing the trouble you can get in just sitting still, not saying anything.
It's just you, brother.
All right.
All right, moving right along. I propose that we add the position of administrative assistant to our current staff. This particular position, the general description, performs a variety of responsible clerical support and customer service duties. Work is performed under direct supervision of the town clerk. Secondarily would be under the supervision of the deputy clerk. This position requires an individual to perform a variety of clerical support, data entry, and related office duties. Work includes greeting the public and answering questions, giving information, typing or data entry, and creating and maintaining accurate files and records. Customer service duties require tact and courtesy, particularly when encountering sensitive or confidential matters. Work has moderate complexity and some variety in daily assignments or work activities. Work typically follows established procedures, while precedent-setting situations are referred to others. Work includes the use of modern office technology, including word processing, office technology, spreadsheets, and other software applications. We have a full description here. Ms. Martin was kind enough to put this together, and I concur with her description. If you'd like to see the rest of it, I'll be more than happy to read it all.
What is the rate of pay?
Okay, here's my proposal. I make a motion that we open this position of administrative assistant, an hourly rate of $16 per hour, working 20 hours a week for a probationary period of 90 days, answering primarily to the town clerk and secondarily to the deputy clerk. Duties are to do what is requested along with this job description.
All right, do we have the money in the budget?
That's the next question. Ms. Thacker, I need about $400 a week.
Right, and I've done the math on that. Sorry, I did not get your voicemail.
That's okay, that's okay. I have been admonished, about my, doing this, so, hopefully I won't do it again. Not this way, anyway.
I did do the math, and the budget that we have for the salaries, of course, is, just because we never know when, you know, we may have more meetings or something like that, so that's kind of why we had cushioned it then. However, we still have March, April, May, June, 4 months left, in this fiscal year. So I would say that we would more than likely need to do a budget amendment on this. Even if we did $5,200, which I would probably feel better maybe just doing $5,500 to the salaries, and then of course we've got to, request the budget amendment, but I don't have that prepared. But we would need to do one for the FICA as well. So,
Do we have the money in our budget without going into the general fund, that we can move around?
well,
We got
yeah,
refrigerator money, I think.
we can't move that, well, I mean, we could, but I really feel like that I could probably put the same type of request up and move from the health insurance. Because we did, we would probably be able to move from the health insurance and move some money around from there. I would just need to run the numbers.
Do we not need this done before we,
Yes, it has to be done before you can do this, so.
Would this not be more of an appropriate action to do in the upcoming budget instead of doing mid-budget year? Most agencies and municipalities do not add positions in the middle of the year. And if we're gonna have to make a budget amendment, I would be more interested in something like this to include it in the upcoming budget versus doing it in the middle of a budget year.
It's my feeling that this position needs to be filled as soon as we can. So I would ask that if we can do a budget amendment that would allow for this, then I would encourage us to go ahead and do that. I'd like this person to start Monday, but I understand I can't do that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Is your vision, part-time that I would, will define as 20 hours per week, or full-time that I would define as 40 hours a week?
20 hours a week to begin with. There's a 90-day probationary period. If she's not happy or he's not happy with us, then we part company. And if we're not happy with the individual, we part company. But it's a 90-day probationary period.
When you say 20 hours to start, do you mean the 20 hours would go to 40 after the 90 days, or the 20?
No. No.
We're talking about 20 hours a week until council takes action at a future date to move that from a part-time position to a full-time position.
That's my vision of it all, yes.
Okay, I'm making sure I understand where you're going.
Yes.
this is our catch-up, I guess, but is this our transition? I know we're gonna be transitioning one of these days, and is that the purpose of this, or is this just playing catch-up, or?
This position, as it has been requested to me, is to provide the extra support that our current staff needs. This position would be filled, the hours would be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That would cover Ms. Hunsucker's lunch, should also cover Mr. Wagner's lunch, so that, we're not left here unmanned. But the primary purpose of it is to provide the clerical support that Ms. Martin needs to make Mr. Wagner our town clerk. That's really what the purpose is.
So it's our transition, where we're trying to transition.
I have another question for whomever might be able to answer it. Would this be a sworn position in much the same way as our town clerk is sworn, our deputy clerk is sworn?
I would expect it to be. You tell me, Ms. Martin.
We could certainly have him swear to an oath, but I wouldn't, it's not necessary. I think me or Mr. Wagner, one, will be available most of the time.
Well, I bring it up, Ms. Martin, because, not all the time, but at certain times, the staff here handles confidential information, closed session information, people's private information, and our planning board members, for example, are sworn in, the council's sworn in. If I'm not mistaken, the three of you have been sworn in. And so that's the context I'm asking in. Wouldn't that be appropriate?
We can certainly prepare an oath and have him swear. That's not a problem at all. And just to talk about what Mr. Landreth asked, it is partly to catch up, but also, tried to explain that the workload here warrants another position, really does. And while I'm not giving you my notice by any means, unless you ask for it, but
No way.
I do want to retire again, maybe within the
My
next year.
concern
So
is if we do this, it'll make it easier for you to leave, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for that.
I appreciate that, but, you know, at some point I do plan to retire. But, and this person, I think, is willing, able to work for several more years. One that we have talked with, whoever we hire could, assist Robbie and anyone else that, is in this position, so. While it is catch-up, but I truly, truly believe there is enough work here, once we get caught up. There's gonna be plenty of work to do. There's, you know, there's a lot of day-to-day things that happen already. We're always doing what needs to be done by tomorrow, and there's nobody helping you all look at what's coming down the pike, looking at these contracts, the audits and that sort of thing. You know, we really need to start on those a couple of months earlier instead of rushing them at the last minute. And I think that's, you know, we could do that if Robbie and I are freed up with some of the day-to-day things that have to be done. That's my 2 cents.
Kim, is the money there? No?
No, we'll have to, no, we'll need to do a, and I mean, again,
The motion is to approve the position.
That's it?
Do we have a second?
No?
I'll second it.
Okay.
What I'm saying, can we vote on it to do the position before we do that?
Can
Or do
we-
we have to do that?
Can we cover my concerns about it being 20 hours a week, part-time, so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves? And the issue of the sworn position, Mr. Mayor, would you modify your motion to do that?
My motion was for 20 hours per week.
Okay, and then this would be as part of this position, they would need to be sworn.
And this position will be a sworn position. That's an amendment to my motion that the position will be a sworn position.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we get a,
Do we still have a second on that, Mr. Foy?
We do.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So if I understand,
I would contest that we could potentially move the money that,
we
Kim
can,
is-
we won't need a budget amendment, so if that
Right.
changes things here, then
you could move it within the same category.
I can move it within the same category, so it would just need to be a request. So therefore, it wouldn't have to be like a budget amendment, so,
so you could add, so the motion could be amended to also move the funds in the same motion to move the funds to fund this position the rest of the year.
I don't,
I would amend my motion to move the funds.
well, we're still discussing this motion, correct?
I'll discuss.
Yes, we are.
Do my figures.
If I may, one of the things I hate to do in this building is vote on a budget amendment that I'm not holding in my hand. Mr. Winfrey, I'm funny that way. I just find that it gets real hard to track these things in my files and in the minutes for staff. And that is, I'm not objecting to the idea of the amendment. I'm objecting to the idea that we don't have it in writing in front of us.
I think Kim's position is we don't have to do a budget amendment, that there is money in the budget category, that we would just need to move funds within the line items under the category.
She just needs a request from us to do that, and that was what I was trying to include in the,
Kim, can you say yes, that's what you believe?
Yes, yes,
But do you believe that?
Yes.
Don't just say it, 'cause
yeah, no, I do believe it, but, and because I feel like it's gonna come out of the health insurance, for
All
sure.
right, Mr.
So-
Mayor, I'll leave you be on it, excuse me.
all right, so I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Thacker will move the funds necessary to cover this position. Do we have any further discussion? Mr. Rigsby,
No.
Mr. Foy,
Aye.
Mr. Landrith,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Ms. Thacker, whatever you do moving money around, will you email what you do to council so we have, and staff, so we all have a copy of it?
Yes, sir.
Then I'm aye.
I am also aye. The motion carries. Next question I have about this, we've worked out the finances, we've decided on it. If we choose a person, how soon can that person start?
We can cover that when we hire someone, couldn't we?
We can, but I think it'd be nice if we had a target date.
And we're gonna actually go into closed session, right?
Well, we don't.
We are, just to discuss individuals.
We don't know for sure when they can start. We should factor that in.
Kim, when you were looking at the budget, were you assuming, what start date were you assuming?
I was assuming, well, I took Monday. I
You
took Monday only to do my figuring because, I like to cushion things to make sure it's there.
Okay.
So I did like an extra week in there. That's why I did what I did.
So I think the answer
I
to
did
your
an extra
question is
$400.
now.
As soon as possible. Okay. The next item is de-annexation. Mr. Jones, I believe this is yours.
I certainly did. I've been tracking this from afar. I'm concerned about it as a citizen, and then I'm concerned about it as a council member. I don't know what extent the town of Stokesdale should be concerned about it, but there's just a few points I'd like to make, just so I put this out there. This feels to me like involuntary annexation, when in fact the state legislature outlawed that many years ago. And it's kind of a backdoor way of conducting involuntary annexation, and I feel like it's for government from the top down in a sense. And we're obviously small town people here and want to support any of our adjoining small towns in any way we can in a reasonable fashion. I feel like there's not very much information out there for us to review at the moment as individual citizens or council members, and I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I was a little surprised to find out that this had been occurring across the state at the level that apparently it has been. And I was a little surprised to find out that Summerfield was looking at possibly losing that much land area, kind of in what appears to me the middle of Summerfield. So it just, all kinds of things are running through my mind. How long it's going to be before we're, have this question in front of us in Stokesdale possibly. And so, but yet at the same time, I don't want to get us right in the middle of Summerfield's business. Hopefully that council over there, they're aware of all the facts, they know what they're doing, and, that's not our call. But I did want to make sure that everybody on this council knew this was going on, and by extension, that our citizens might hear about it. One other thing that appears to me, there's a lot of talk using a particular developer's name. Whether he's a saint or a demon is not up for me to decide, but I think the real issue is density. And Summerfield, from a distance, looks like they've eased the cap out of the bottle a little bit to increase their density, and now they're trying to get it back in. So right now, it seems like the sky's the limit. There's no end to the amount of density they may wind up with, depending on who wins this battle. And I just would like to make sure everybody's aware this is going on. It may, these kind of legal proceedings may impact the town of Stokesdale before we know it. And I think it's something to be watched, and if we can figure out a prudent way to support Summerfield, then I'll certainly look at doing that. But those are my thoughts.
Any further discussion?
I mean, this is going to affect, if they were to do that, it's going to not affect just Stokesdale, it'll affect every town in the state. Did you say that they've done this somewhere else?
They have, Jimmy. I was just Googling it. Asheville, Kinston has requested it.
Wait a minute, Kinston's requested it.
Kinston, North Carolina did it. Lexington has gone through this in 2021. Kinston had some de-annexation in 2017. North Topsail Beach had some residents request last year. So there is, several incidents within North Carolina. So this is not something new. This has been going on.
I mean, as this went through the legislature, what was the process that they did it?
Yeah, it all goes to the legislator. Surf City, House Bill, 1096, 21-22 session, de-annexation.
Were they successful?
I don't know without looking at each one of them individually, but my point of that is, this is not a new, and it's not a precedent being set. It may be for the size, because a lot of these are talking about individual houses or 2 or 3 businesses.
It would,
but-
with the size and the fact that it would reduce the footprint of a town with a vote of, with one vote, 5%, right through the middle of Summerfield. I think Kinston was roughly 30 acres, on the outskirts of town. Lexington, I think, was a big one, around 300 acres for an airport. And, but I don't think you had the, local government and citizenry opposition in any of these
Right,
cases
correct.
like you do here. You know, I'm not sure if those were situations where, you know, state elected officials were,
Taking sides necessarily.
well, not so much taking sides, but, well, yeah, I guess taking sides with people that give them the money. I mean, undoubtedly, 100% fact, one of the largest donors for, and there's nothing illegal about this at all, but it's 100% fact that one of the largest donors for Mr. Berger is the developer in Summerfield. That's a fact. And again, nothing illegal about that, but, you know, just because you have a tremendous amount of money shouldn't afford you the opportunity to completely change the rules of a local municipality and by extension, change the town forever. I mean, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's out. And, doggone. This is such a big deal. And I get pretty emotional about it too, because I think it would happen, could happen to Stokesdale and the precedent it could set. But, I grew up in Summerfield and still very near and dear to my heart. Grew up with Priscilla. It could happen here, and it could happen in any small town. All it takes is,
Money.
I guess, enough money to a state legislator.
It feels like crony capitalism
I
to
mean,
me.
that's exactly what it is.
A man that has enough money to be able to take all the necessary steps to make this happen over the objection of a local governing board that was elected by the citizens of that town. And I certainly think it takes away the individuality of each town as this occurs. I would like to think if Stokesdale, if we want to be different and allow certain things or not allow certain things, then that's fine. If we got a little town somewhere in North Carolina that wants to doesn't want to have streets and want to require their citizens to ride horses or use golf carts, more power to them. If that's a opportunity for somebody to be in those types of communities versus being in Stokesdale or Summerfield, but this just doesn't, it just don't feel right.
And it shouldn't. Hats off to the citizens of Summerfield, the town council of Summerfield. They've done this right. They've had 2 public hearings. They have invested a lot of time into, this project, and they gave it due process. It did not pass, but they had 2 large public hearings. Tim and I attended one last year, and then, there was one a couple weeks ago that I couldn't make, but I did watch it online. And they allowed both meetings, 100 speakers spoke. They gave them 3 minutes apiece. Everybody that was there, they would have stayed all night. They rented a larger venue. They gave the citizens an opportunity to speak, and they listened to the citizens. But what they also did is, I think they did have the foresight to see that, this could be coming down the pike. And Summerfield did update their UDO to create more affordable housing options to avoid a situation like we're seeing now. The developer in Summerfield has options under the existing UDO. He's not limited. These are, good options, multifamily units that do fit better within Summerfield, and Summerfield should be able to, can control their own destiny, for better or worse. But what's happening is a shame. It's also, I do find it kind of almost insulting that whenever affordable housing subject comes up, you always hear teachers and first responders and nurses. I think the need for affordable housing is much further widespread than that. And the Summerfield Town Council, I think half of it is made up of firefighters and teachers. So, they live in Summerfield. The whole thing stinks.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna get on affordable housing. But, I'm just gonna shut up.
Any further discussion?
I want to hear what Jimmy's got to say.
He's,
I'm not, all I'll do is put my foot in my mouth.
I'm good, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
okay, very good. We're going to move on to citizens' comments. Do we have anyone from the floor that would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, could you say your name, please?
Yes, Priscilla, if you would identify yourself.
Priscilla Olenek, Pleasant Ridge
Olenek.
Road, Summerfield.
Why is there an E on the end? Olenek.
There's not, it's Olenek.
Is there a K? Is that a K?
Yeah. Oh, that's a K.
I can't read.
That's okay. It's probably my handwriting.
Priscilla O works for me.
Oh, really?
Thank you, gentlemen. I hope that if this does materialize in one way, shape, or form, that you guys would consider writing a resolution to support us. I don't think you need to get in our business, but we certainly would appreciate it. And I think you guys understand the threat and how hard we've worked. And, Mr. Berger is our representative, and Summerfield doesn't move the needle, but all of us do. So we'd appreciate your support, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of announcements. The Town of Stokesdale's Planning Board will hold a meeting on March 23rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. inside the Town Hall. Town of Stokesdale Town Council will hold a budget workshop April 6, 2023 at 7 p.m. inside the Town Hall. The Town of Stokesdale Town Council will hold a regular meeting April 13th, 2023, 7 p.m. inside the Town Hall. I make a motion that we,
Mayor?
yes,
I'll just add, we did just receive word from Mr. Snyder at the Guilford County Planning Office that the March 23rd Planning Board meeting has been canceled.
thank you, Mr. Wagner. The original announcement on the Planning Board was for the 23rd. It has been canceled. I make a motion that we go into closed session
I'll
In a-
second it.
in accordance with 143-318.11,
Never mind.
closed sessions, permitted purposes. It is a policy of this state that closed sessions shall be held only when required to permit a public body to act in the public interest as permitted in this session, as in permitted in this section. A public body may hold a closed session and exclude the public only when a closed session is required. Folks, I want to thank all of you for being here. If you want to stay, we're going to come back out after this is over, but for the most part, after the closed session, we're pretty well done. Do I have a second on my motion?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith? Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am aye. Let's do it. Do I have to make a motion, or we just come back to
We're
order?
live.
Re-adjourn, or
Open session?
I make a motion that we reopen the, session.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby? Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith? Aye. Mr. Jones? Aye. And I'm also aye. I'd like to make a motion that we hire Ms. Lynn Callahan as our administrative assistant effective Monday this next week. Help me with the date, somebody.
That would be on Monday, March 13th.
March 13th.
Know that you can start that.
If she can't, the offer is there if she can. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
No.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I'm also aye. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Well, we don't get to make council comments,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry,
Mayor?
sorry, I'm ahead of myself as usual.
We don't now, we got a second.
Well, if we need.
Well, I'm going to reopen it for discussion. Council discussion?
I'll begin. Nothing really to say. I just want to thank Robbie he went over to Stokesdale and spoke to one of the elementary groups for me this week. They'd asked me if I could, and I just couldn't work it out in my schedule. But Robbie was glad to do it, and I'm sure he had a good time talking to him, and he's not too far removed from elementary school, so I figured it may help him out a little bit, so.
We learned something.
Memories.
It was nice. It was a joy to be there. The class was very nice, and the staff was exceptional, so I enjoyed it.
I'm glad you could do it. I hated to tell him no, so I figured, it's like the wife says, you go into things without a plan, but I did have a plan. I just didn't know how I was going to execute it when I said yes. So I appreciate you doing that for me.
It's fine. The books were a little difficult, but I made my way through it.
Any further comments?
I have no comment. Thank you to Karen, as always.
Mr. Landrith?
Good job on the minutes. We're catching up. Everybody noticed there's a little bit new format.
Yeah, I like
And
it.
I love it because you've got the agenda in and everything, and I think it's gonna work out well. Thanks for that. I feel for the folks in Summerfield. I feel for us sometimes here. I've been here since 1959. I don't remember it in 59, but I do remember it in 61. And everything we're just getting bunched up, and I understand people. I hope those folks are successful in Summerfield. I'm a property rights person. A man's got a right to develop his property, but, just to make a new city, that might be going a little bit far. Things are gonna happen. You can't just completely shut things down. You just can't do it. People's got property, that's money. Will people take their houses and say, I'm only gonna take half the amount of money my house is worth? So, I'm talking about here, I'm not talking about in Summerfield. I know folks move in and they want it to be like it was when they moved in, because they moved in here for that. I understand it, God, I understand it. But people are gonna do things when there's property, they're gonna do it. If you got a good place to come to, and we have a good place to come to, you're going to have people wanna build houses. I'd love to see some small businesses come in on 4 or 5 acres and things. And get some of those things where they had their own septic systems, because I just know that if a sewer line ever comes up through here, we're gonna be like 150 in Kernersville, and I'd hate to see that. It'll be what it is, but, there may be another council that they want to. One of these days, somebody may throw a tax on it and they'll look at it as revenue. I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see. That's about it for me.
Mr. Jones?
I would like to thank our one citizen that has hung with us all through this meeting, and usually does. I think that's quite admirable. We got a witness of the goings on here, and I appreciate that. I'd like to thank staff for the day in and day out work they do. and you too, Mr. Winfrey, and that's all I got to say.
I'd like to thank council for the support that you guys give me in the errors of my ways and the way that you try to help me to do the mayor's job a little bit better. But I do greatly appreciate it anytime. If I am out of bounds, don't hesitate to tell me. I won't promise I'll do what you want me to do, but I will promise I'll listen. So let me thank council for that. Mr. Jones, that is your fruitcake right there.
You trying to say something to him?
And let me tell you, I know
I'm
Mr.
waiting for this, Mr. Mayor.
I know Mr. Landreth already has his.
He's
Let me
already
tell
called me
you,
one.
nuts are fruit, okay? Nuts are fruit. You will not find any cake in there at all.
I was making sure it wasn't ticking, Mr.
If you haven't had one of those, you are gonna enjoy it thoroughly, and I like mine cold, but you enjoy it however you want to.
A nutty fruitcake, I wouldn't be surprised if it wound up in Patty Stokes' paper, but.
It could. I'm sure she knows about Southern Spring, would be my guess. I'll take care of you too.
Product endorsement.
Yeah, best fruitcake in the world, and it's made here in North Carolina.
Motion,
Yeah, yes, sir,
excuse me, I thought you were finished.
I am.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landreth. Mr. Jones.
All right.
And I am I. Thank you, folks, everybody. Appreciate it.
I think the only reason the lady in the audience stays, she's got the hots for the council member on the end down
She
there.
does. She does.
She's trying to lasso it.
Does. She does.
Like one of them hot dates at the food truck.
Yeah, she's trying to lasso them in.
It's impressive.